Welcome back, focused learners. Today, we're taking on a massive, truly transformative text and distilling it right down to its absolute core concepts. We're looking at the essential mechanics of Tony Robbins' absolute classic, Awaken the Giant Within. In this explainer, we're going to unpack the invisible systems that basically govern our everyday behavior, and we'll show you exactly how to take the wheel. Our goal here, to capture the essentials of this whole book in 8 minutes or less, giving you the exact blueprint for taking immediate control of your mental, emotional, physical, and even financial destiny. Okay, let's dive into this.
So I want you to ask yourself a question right off the bat. Where will you be in 10 years? No, seriously, really think about it for a second. Think about where you were exactly 10 years ago. Crazy, right? A decade can pass in the absolute blink of an eye. And here's the thing, if you don't consciously design the next 10 years of your life, well, someone or something else is going to design it for you. The stakes for your personal destiny literally couldn't be higher, and it all starts by recognizing a really dangerous trap that, honestly, most of society is completely caught up in right now. Robbins actually calls this trap the Niagara Syndrome. Imagine, if you will, just jumping right into the raging river of life without ever actually deciding where you want to end up. You just kind of go with the flow. You let current events, whatever fears are on the news, or just your general environment bounce you around. You drift. You drift completely unconsciously, totally out of control, until one day, bam, the sound of raging water wakes you up, and you suddenly realize you're about 5 feet from Niagara Falls in a tiny boat with literally no oars. And unless you packed a barrel, well, this isn't going to end well. This is the ultimate pain of letting external conditions dictate your life. If you want to avoid that devastating drop, you've got to grab the oars yourself.
And that brings us right to the core premise of this entire explainer. Decisions, not conditions, determine your destiny. Period. It's so incredibly easy to blame our lack of progress on the economy, right? Or how we were raised, or the classic, I just don't have enough time. But Robbins makes a brilliant point here. He argues that those things, they're just conditions. The ultimate destination of your life is determined entirely by the conscious choices you make regarding those conditions. So it's not actually what happens to us, it's our direct response to what happens that really shapes who we become.
Now, if you're sitting there thinking, yeah, but my specific conditions are just way too hard to overcome, I want you to consider real people who completely exploded beyond massive societal or physical limitations. Think about Rosa Parks. Her single, resolute decision to not give up her seat on that bus sparked an entire civil rights movement. Or take Ed Roberts, a guy paralyzed from the neck down who literally spent his nights sleeping in an iron lung. I mean, he could have so easily surrendered to his conditions, right? Instead, he made the firm decision to fight for the disabled, pioneering accessibility ramps and parking spaces, and fundamentally changing the way society operates. In both cases, their conditions absolutely did not dictate their destinies. Their decisions did.
But hold on. Here's where we need to be incredibly precise, because most of us don't actually know what it means to make a real decision. We walk around saying things like, oh, I'd like to lose some weight, or man, I'd really like to make more money. Guess what? That's not a decision. That's just a weak preference. The actual word decision comes from the Latin roots de, meaning from, and caedere, which literally means to cut. So making a true decision means committing to a specific result and completely cutting yourself off from any other possibility. No backdoors, no safety nets, zero excuses. It's about absolute, unwavering commitment. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that it reveals the twin underlying forces driving literally all human behavior. Ever wonder why we completely follow through on some decisions but totally abandon others after like 3 days? Well, it all comes down to pain and pleasure. Everything, and I mean everything, you and I do, we do either out of a desperate primal need to avoid pain or a burning desire to gain some sort of pleasure. If you're trying to change a behavior but you just keep failing, it's not a lack of willpower. It's simply because you subconsciously associate more pleasure with the old bad behavior than you do pain. So, to take immediate control of your life, you have to completely rewire this pain-pleasure dynamic. Robbins calls this neuroassociative conditioning. It's basically a 4-step process. First, you've got to get leverage. You must link massive, truly unbearable pain to your old habit. You need to vividly realize what it's going to cost you if you don't change right this second. Second, interrupt the old pattern. When you feel it creeping up, do something crazy to stop it in its tracks. Third, create a new, deeply empowering alternative behavior and deliberately link incredible pleasure to it. And finally, condition it. Repeat it over and over until that new positive habit becomes completely automatic. But wait, what actually determines what we consider painful or pleasurable in the first place? Well, that's dictated by your master system. Think of this like the invisible subconscious operating system that runs in the background and controls your daily evaluations and actions. It's made up of your core beliefs about what is actually possible, your core values, your life references, like your past experiences, the habitual questions you constantly ask yourself in your head, and of course your daily emotional states. If you truly want to change your life on a global scale, you can't just hack away at the surface. You have to consciously go in and upgrade this entire master operating system. So, the crucial point is understanding the fundamental difference between the vehicles we pursue and the actual emotional states we deeply crave. And this brings us right to your values. Look, most people spend their lives chasing what we call means values, things like wanting a big pile of money or even starting a family. But money and a family, those are just the means to an end. What you're actually seeking underneath all of that are ends values, stuff like the profound emotion of love, absolute security, or total unrestricted freedom. If you don't separate these two in your head, you might actually achieve your goal, like getting super rich, but still sit there feeling completely empty inside because you completely neglected to fulfill your true ends values. Knowing this, you really have to challenge yourself here. What do your values actually need to be in order to achieve the ultimate destiny you desire and, quite frankly, deserve? You absolutely do not have to just blindly accept the default programming you were handed by society or by your parents growing up. You can consciously step in right now and decide to place values like immense courage, deep compassion, or boundless vitality right at the absolute top of your list. Upgrading your master system this way ensures you're automatically, almost magnetically, pulled toward your highest goals. And this brilliantly illustrates how we really should handle the inevitable bumps in the road, which are our negative emotions. Robbins completely redefines feelings like intense frustration, sudden anger, or deep disappointment. Instead of seeing them as these terrible enemies that just need to be suppressed or numbed out, we should start viewing them as action signals. Think of them as incredibly helpful, guiding mentors that are just whispering, or let's be real, sometimes screaming at you that you urgently need to change either your perception of a given situation or the actual physical actions you are currently taking. Honestly, managing these daily mental states is kind of like tending to a garden. When an action signal pops up, boom, that's a weed. You don't just ignore it and hope it magically goes away. You pull it out by learning the lesson it's trying to teach you. But even more importantly than pulling weeds, you have to consciously plant empowering seeds in your emotional garden every single day. If you proactively go out of your way to cultivate feelings of intense love, profound appreciation, endless curiosity, deep passion, and just unshakable confidence, there simply won't be any room left for those nasty weeds of doubt and fear to grow. Let's move to and see how this builds massive momentum for our future. You've harnessed your pain and pleasure, you've completely upgraded your master system, and you've successfully planted an empowering emotional garden. Fantastic. But now, you need a target. Giant goals produce giant motivation. It's really that simple. If you want to finally tap into that unlimited sleeping giant within you, you need a vision for your future that is so compelling, it literally pulls you out of bed in the morning. A truly compelling future sparks your passion and gives you that unstoppable drive to just smash right past any obstacle that gets thrown in your path. And so, we come right back to where we started, back to the single most powerful force you possess as a human being. It is in your moments of decision that your destiny is shaped. You don't have to wait for tomorrow. You don't need to wait for Monday or the start of a new year. You have the raw power to literally draw a line in the sand right now, today. So I'll leave you with this. What is one single life-altering decision you are going to make this very second? Cut off all other possibilities, take immediate, massive action, and actually awaken the giant within you. If you enjoyed this, subscribe to In 8 Minutes and never miss what matters.